See, right there. All right. Your toolkit should be open on your desk, please. All right, we're looking at the lesson proportions and expressions. So let's get started. Short on time today. All right, what is it that we're doing? Our content objective is this. Today we will simplify algebraic expressions by combining like terms. All right, so what does that mean as far as our language goal? Repeat after me, please. I will be able to simplify.
I will be able to simplify
And combine like terms.
and combine like terms
Using the distributive property.
using the distributive property.
All right, so when we're done, the vocabulary terms you should be able to understand and explain to someone else are distributive property and properties of zero. All right, so before we get into our lesson, let's go ahead and get our toolkit notes done for the day. If you haven't done so already, fold your notes in 2 columns. In your first column, you're going to put your key term. And in the second column, we're going to write the definition or explanation. Remember, in the first column, we're going to have our essential question first. If you don't want to write out essential question, you can abbreviate it by putting EQ. So first column, EQ. What is the question we want to be able to answer at the end of our lesson?
How can I simplify?
How can I simplify with negatives? Write that in your second column. It's a question, so make sure you end it with a question mark. All right, when you're done writing the essential question, you're going to skip a line. You're going to come back to your first column. And the first thing that we're going to look at today are the properties of zero. Skip a line, first column, you're writing properties of zero. All right, so let's take a look at our first property. Zoe, go ahead and sit up. All right, opposites equal zero. Opposites equal zero. Give me an example of numbers that are opposites.
Negative
Yes.
5 and 5.
All right, negative 5 and 5. Alice, another example of opposites. Numbers that are opposites. All right, negative 2 and positive 2, those are opposites. There are 2 examples of opposites on the board. Write one of those and then write one that you create yourself. There are 2 examples on the board. Write one of those and write one that you create yourself. Okay, opposites equal 0. That means one of your numbers has a positive sign and one of your numbers has a negative sign. All right, skip a line. You're going to stay in your second column. And next you're going to write additive identity. Additive identity. When you add 0 to any number, that number does not change. All right, remember you're taking notes, so if you want to abbreviate, that's fine. Instead of writing out the word 0, what might you do? 0. Yeah, just put the number 0. Instead of writing out the word number, you could use the hashtag or the pound sign. If I were writing these notes and I were going to write the word change, my abbreviation for change is CHG, period. But don't put that if you're not going to remember what that means when you go back to read your notes. Yes, ma'am?
Instead of writing U, can we write U?
You can, because you're taking notes. When you're writing something that needs to be in paragraph form academically, you need to write out the word. But in your notes, you can shorten it. If you need to draw a picture instead of writing a word in your notes, that's fine, as long as it's neat, and when you go back to reference it, you know what it is you have written. All right, so additive identity. When you add 0 to any number, that number keeps its identity. It doesn't change. 9 plus 0 is 9. The 9 keeps its identity. 1,000 plus 0 is 1,000. 1,000 keeps its identity. All right, so here are 2 examples. Write one and create one of your own. 8 plus 0 equals 8. Write one of the examples and write your own example using the identity property. All right, good. And then last thing on our property of 0. 0 is the only number with its own opposite. The opposite of positive 2 is negative 2. has a different sign, an opposite sign. But 0 is the only number that has its own opposite. The opposite of 0 is 0. All right, go ahead and keep writing. If you're not done, keep writing and hold up your other hand so I know to give you a couple more seconds. Okay. All right, we looked at algebra tiles last week. We're going to take a look at those a little bit more. So I want you to go ahead and skip a line. Excuse me. And in your first column, you're going to write algebra tiles. Skip a line, go to your first column, write algebra tiles. All right, so this is an example of our first tile that's shaded in. Now, if it's shaded in, for our reference, that is going to be +1. Okay, so this is our algebra tile, lightly shaded in, and that's going to be a +1.
Is this in the first column?
You can put it in your second column.
Oh, I already put it in.
All right, this is our negative algebra tile. I'm not shading it in, and it's going to represent -1. So on the board, we have opposites. What do opposites equal?
0.
0. They cancel each other out. So this represents a 0 pair. Okay, I have a 1 and a -1. That pair represents 0. All right, underneath, this is our algebra tile. And you'll see that this is 1 unit, and by definition, the sides of a square are the same thing, right? So if this measures 1, each side of the square measures 1. If you look at our algebra tile, this side of our algebra tile has a measurement of 1 unit. Okay, so it's the same as the length of our 1 unit square that we see there. All right, how do I find the area of this shape? Well, I don't know what this length is. And if you don't know something, you're going to use a variable to represent that unknown value. So I don't know what the length is. We're going to label that length x. It could be anything. It could be any number. But how do I find the area of a rectangle? How do I find the area of a rectangle?
Well,
Okay, base times height. We're going to multiply this times this, our width times our length. So 1 unit times x will give me x. So the area of the rectangle is going to be x. Okay, and once again, this could be any length. We don't know what it is, so we're using a variable to represent it. All right, our rectangle underneath, that's white. What is that going to represent? Good, it's going to represent a negative algebra tile. All right, last thing we're going to write before we get into our text is opposites. All right, the opposite of x, the variable x, is written the quantity of. Remember, anytime I say quantity of, that means you're opening up some parentheses. You're going to put some quantity, some number inside of your parentheses. So the quantity of negative x. So the opposite of positive x is negative x. And opposites equal what? What do opposites equal?
careful.
Okay, they cancel each other out because they equal 0.
Hi, Maddie.
Okay. When you're done writing, go ahead and take out a piece of paper for your classwork. Thank you.
Opposite is